Hey, this is Kathy Perry, corporate energy expert, helping you and your senior living teams power up. And in this video, I'm going to talk about how burnout can manifest itself in a negative way towards your residents. Well, I know you're in senior living because you care. You care about the grandmas and the grandpas and the frail and the fragile. And these people are special and they deserve our utmost respect and care. But in this video, and watch until the very end because I'm going to give you some really clear tactics and one simple tip, how you can get over and move through that burnout so it doesn't affect your residents. Well, if you're like me, maybe you have children and you know what this looks like. You just finally get so burned out, you might lose it. Think about like the end of the day and you're trying to get dinner on the table and there's antics happening and you just lose it with your kids. And I know sometimes this might happen with your residents because you're burned out. Well, what some of the ways that this looks like is first, apathy. We grow a little bit apathetic. Like, I don't really care. I'm so burned out myself. I'm exhausted. I'm physically or emotionally burned out. So I just can't care as much. And we do this. And if you are starting to feel physically or emotionally burned out, it's time to maybe take a step and start to evaluate that. And keep watching because I'm going to give you some tips on what to do. So one of the first ways that it can manifest itself towards our residents is we just stop caring as much. And that's not good for anybody involved. Well, one of the next is there's this physical strain on you. You might end up feeling exhausted. You might end up with aches, with pains. We know where you're on your feet a lot during the day. And when that starts to happen, you might physically be unable to do the tasks at hand. You know, I've worked with a lot of caregivers, and in some roles, it is very physical. And you're going to have to be using your body to help and to care. And you might just burn out. And that's one thing we don't want to happen. We don't want you to get to the point where you are working so hard that you are physically exhausted. Because then you reach a point where it could be dangerous, not only for yourself, but also for the residents or the people you're caring for. So you really have to watch that one. That's the next way that it can damage the way that we help others. The next is when we become burned out, we know that tempers can flare. Incivility can creep into teams. And think about when a family comes to visit their loved one, if you're working in direct care, and they see you with anger towards one of your coworkers, or just incivility, or just being nasty. Nobody wants that. Families will look and say, I don't think that's the type of person I want caring for mom or dad. Or on a different level, it might even be like on your team where you're so stretched and burned out, the nitpicking starts, or the gossip starts, or the end of shift antics happen, where maybe you're not finishing your work and leaving it for someone else. Again, not the best way to be in a caregiving role. So that's the third way that being burned out can manifest itself. And then finally, and the ultimate way that burnout can manifest itself is you just don't show up. You lose people, really good people, people who care, people who are in senior living because they care, just don't show up. You know, we hear about resignations and the great resignation and people not wanting to do the work. So as senior living managers and those who are on teams, we need to think about how can we keep our teams from burning out so that we can best serve our residents. What are some of those things? Well, the first tip is recognize it in yourself first. You know, what does it feel like? Are you dreading going to work? Are you physically burned out? Are you seeing some of those signs of short-temperedness? If that's you, if you're fitting that description, first of all, I have a few other videos that you can look up about how to banish burnout. I also have programs about powering up senior living teams that you can investigate. But start to realize, what are the ways that you power back up? Are these short little micro breaks during your day? Is this an attitude adjustment, some mindset work? If it's something physical, when you do have those precious few hours off or a weekend off, can you be doing things to recharge? You know, the very first book I wrote was called The Ultimate Recipe for an Energetic Life. And there are ways to stay energized, be that your diet, be that your sleep schedule, be that stress. All of those things have to come into check so that you stay energized, so that you can serve the people you need to serve. So the first thing is, take a look at yourself. Are you burning out? Are you seeing those signs? And make conscious efforts to move towards powering back. So the next step is to take a look at your team. Is your team starting to burn out? And what is that looking like? I mentioned a few things above. Are you getting nitpicky at one another? Are you not serving with joy to your residents? Does it look and feel different? If that's the case, and if you are in the role where you can address it, begin to address that with your team. Ask every day, how are you feeling? Are you starting to burn out? Or, hey, I noticed that, seems like you might be a little stressed today. What could we do to alleviate some of that stress? Acknowledging burnout is huge. And sometimes people don't feel like it's safe for them to say, I'm burning out here at work. If you are in the role of a manager, take some of those steps so that your team feels comfortable. Once you have a little bit of admission that, yeah, I'm starting to feel burned out, and I see how that is coming across to our residents, to our families, start an initiative to do, again, like what you did for yourself, some of those micro actions. Whether it's, hey, looks like you could use 5 minutes. I'd really like you to go power up for 5 minutes. Whether you start your mornings with a meditation with your group, there are some great 5-minute meditations, mantras of like, today we're going to care. We're going to care with joy. Today I'm going to look for ways that I can serve my residents. Do some deep breathing with those mantras. Just do it for a few minutes with your teams. It sets a mindset that is so different than this stirred up, crazy, gotta get it done, gotta serve, gotta go. And I think your residents will appreciate you entering their space with that degree of calm. So, as I said, look for the ways that you might be feeling burned out. Look for those triggers, the way your teams might be feeling burned out. Begin to look at how that is happening and interactions are happening with your residents, with the families. And when you see those negative things creeping in, cut them off quickly and move towards the positive. So this is Kathy Perry, corporate energy expert. Please reach out with me. Go ahead and subscribe to this channel. I'm always dropping new videos. Some are short you can use with your team. Some are longer where you can go a little in depth. If you have more questions about how to power up your teams, you can always reach out to me. My contact information is in this YouTube channel. And today, just go and care with great joy.